Yes, so here in Beirut, it's been a very stormy morning after a lovely day yesterday, but that didn't stop Beirutis and wider in Lebanon celebrating last night with lots of celebratory gunfire all night. We have had results coming through from the different parties overnight, but as you said, that's not yet confirmed. What we're seeing is really what was expected in terms of the main parties, but the big surprise here is that we've seen two independent female candidates win in Beirut. That really wasn't expected. But in terms of the other parties, we're seeing Hezbollah gaining. It's looking like their alliance is going to get a majority in parliament. And we've seen Prime Minister Saad Hariri losing out, really, with his Future Movement Party across the country. Now, in terms of how that's going to affect the politics of the country, it's quite important to notice that in Parliament, nobody gets a simple majority. There's a confessional system here. And the way that works is that all the different sects have to work together in Parliament and they have assigned seats. So in each district, each sect has a certain number of seats and they work together. So when we say that the Hezbollah alliance has come out on top, what that means is the people that they are working with, Amal, the other Shiite party, but also parties from other religions who are working against Prime Minister Saad Hariri's Sunni dominance with his partners, they've come out on top, and altogether they are likely to get over half of the seats in Parliament, which is divided between half Muslims and half Christians. It looks like that will be about 67 seats they're going to get. Now, this has played out as a battle against Prime Minister Saad Hariri and his perceived Saudi-backed dominance. He has lost out in all his heartlands, in Tripoli in the north, in Saida in the south, where he's from, and in Beirut. And as I say, Hezbollah doing well. The only area where they did lose out a little bit was in Baalbek, which is just on the Syrian border, and there's a lot of anger there about their involvement in the Syrian conflict. But everywhere else, Hezbollah seems to have come out on top. And the last factor in this is the Christian parties. Now, with them, the party of Michel Aoun, the president, he has lost out across the country a little bit. That doesn't affect things right now, but it will affect things in 4 years when the next president is elected, because with his party losing seats, the other Christian parties have a chance, because the way it works in parliament is the president must be Christian, the prime minister must be Sunni, and the speaker must be Shia. So really quite a complex system here with all the religions working together, but overall, Hezbollah coming out on top and Hariri losing out.
A complicated system you mentioned there, Leila, and one that seems for many voters to have gotten even more complicated this time round with a new electoral law. You mentioned there the two independent candidates, but what has that new electoral law actually changed in these elections?
Well, one of the main things that it changed was the fact that there are still lists here. So people must work together in lists, different candidates, and the voters go in and they elect a list. However, now you can have a preferred candidate from that list. The idea of this was supposedly that it would allow independents to run and have more chance of getting a seat, as it used to be that whichever list won in an area, they would get all the seats assigned for their religion. However, what people are actually saying is that stopped independents from being able to do very well because they are running on independent lists, which are very unknown. So people are unlikely to choose them. And if they don't run on an independent list and they run on a party list, then they have to conform to what that party is saying, what that sect is saying, so they're not truly independent. So that was the idea. Unclear if it's played out, although these two independent candidates did win in Beirut. The other issue here was that they hugely changed the way that people vote. In 2009, people could walk into the polling booth with their own ballots and they could put whatever they liked in the box. So there was lots of allegations of ballot box stuffing then. This time round, lots and lots of new regulations, everything being checked against barcodes, one ballot paper per person. So theoretically, that was a much more verifiable system. However, just under 50% turnout, and many people saying that's because people just didn't understand this complex new system. It all seemed a bit too complex with the preferential vote and with this new way of voting, so turnout not very high. And election observers saying mostly across the country, it's worked out very well in terms of the process of voting, the efficacy of voting, but we did see quite a lot of problems with slower processes outside Beirut where people understood less. So the first time this has been trialled, maybe more success in the future, but a good start it seems.
Okay.